I made the name Love and Hip Hop. That's my name. When they say Love Hop, they supposed to say, man, the creator and founder, Jim Jones. I created it. It wasn't about nobody. I called Jim Ackerman like, yo, I'm ready to do reality TV. If you do a show around Chrissy, and I'll be a part of the show for the whole thing. Chrissy was supposed to do a show. It didn't go through for her. And she told Mona, yo, hold Jim down while I'm going to play the management. I had a couple more meetings at VH1. Took Mona with me to the meeting. She went in there as my manager and left as the producer.
Oh, gosh.
Of my whole show.
No. I mean, that was a long time ago. He and Eve stopped dating after the videotape. No, I don't know. It's been quite some time.
Wow.
As one might anticipate from a late-night studio session, the space was barely lighted. A half-empty bottle of Hennessy rested on the table in front of Jim Jones as he reclined in his chair. The aroma of ambition and marijuana filled the air. His longtime companion, Chrissy, was seated across from him, her piercing gaze fixed on him while he spoke. Between them, a tiny recorder glowed red, catching every word. This exchange wasn't merely informal. This was Jim revealing everything, finally sharing the story he had kept inside for years. Jim said in a low, conviction-laden voice, "Man, Chrissy, you know how it is. Everyone out here is behaving as though they started this entire business from scratch, yet they have no idea what true hip-hop love is all about. That was my smile, my vision. I was the first to see it, and Mona deceived me." Leaning forward and raising an eyebrow, Chrissy felt the weight of his words draw her more into the situation.
I mean, listen, you guys have heard me answer this. It's such an age-old question that I keep getting, and I'm hoping at some point that we are allowed to evolve beyond this. I think the cast has done an amazing job of opening up and sharing their lives, and I never got the memo.
Jim, hold on. You sang Love and Hip Hop. Did you come up with the concept for the entire franchise? You pitched it like, Chrissy inquired in a stern yet inquisitive tone. Jim took a leisurely sip from his glass and nodded, right up. I was already in these circles back in 2008. I had the connections, the hustle, and the music. I witnessed the events taking place in the scene. Relationships are chaotic, egos are clashing, cats are living wild, and so on. Hey, why isn't anyone airing this on TV? I asked myself. Not only the music, but also the drama, love, betrayals, and reality. He stopped, his eyes narrowing as his face lit up with recollections. I had the entire idea sketched out. A program that followed artists, their crews, and their partners, revealing to the public what goes on behind the scenes, genuine people, real stories without any contrived crap. Back then, I had a different name for it. Hustle and hard, or a similar phrase. I knew it was gold. That's what matters. Chrissy folded her arms in curiosity, but skepticism. How did Mona Scott enter the picture then? 'Cause I just checked. Everyone refers to her as the creative force behind hip-hop and love. Jim shook his head and laughed bitterly. Mona was so smooth, dude. I got to know her through a shared connection with an industry insider who was aware that I was attempting to sell this idea. I was speaking with networks, but I lacked the high-level executives and a professional pitch. I was just a visionary guy from Harlem. Mona appeared as though she would assist me in taking things to the next level. She knew the TV game had experience, working with artists, and had the resume. I had faith in her. As the narrative spilled out, he leaned forward and made wildly erratic hand gestures.
Important that, you know, the casting phase, finding people who had the kinds of stories that I knew existed in the world,
Right.
but more importantly, were willing to share that.
Right.
Because this kind of thing happens to us all,
Right.
but we don't have to live it and experience it in front of millions of people. You know, you take the real elements, you set it within this production construct,
Right.
and then you...
We met. Chrissy and I spent late hours at her office going over every little detail. I explained to her how I wanted the program to seem unscripted, as if you were in the room with these people. I provided her with the names of producers, artists, and even a few of the female players who would start that fire. I outlined the entire plan. She pretended to be writing for me while nodding and taking notes. Chrissy's eyes grew wide. Few essentially gave her the playbook then. That's right. The sound of Jim slapping the table reverberated across the silent room. I threw myself into her. Do you have any idea what she did? Grabbed it, turned it over, and took off. The next thing I know, I'm hearing rumors about Love and Hip Hop, a brand new reality program. Perhaps it's a coincidence, I'm thinking. However, when I watch the promos, my damn vision appears on the television. The entire atmosphere, the tumultuous relationships, and the studio feuds. The cast included even a few of the individuals I had previously mentioned. Chrissy pursed her lips and shook her head. Jim, that's chilly. However, how do you know she didn't just think of it at once? Like great minds think alike. Or something like that. Jim gritted his teeth. No, it's not a coincidence. I have evidence. Save the notes from our meetings, the emails, and the messages. Chrissy, I have a paper trail. She seemed to be putting together a pitch for us as she asked me for further information. Then without warning, she stops answering my calls and is silent. The next thing I know, she is the executive producer and the program has been approved. There is no trace of my name. Leaning back, he wiped his face with his palm. To tell the truth, it hurt. I felt taken advantage of. I was out here attempting to construct something tangible that would demonstrate to the world the essence of our civilization. And while I sit here watching it take off without me, she made money off of my concept and turned it into a circus. Chrissy remained silent for a while as she processed. Why don't you sue her then? Why not take the evidence to court if you have it? Jim let out a sigh and slumped his shoulders. I considered it. Spoke with a few attorneys. However, Chrissy, are you aware of the nature of this industry? Mona has a connection to the boy club. She possessed the funds, the attorneys, and the influence. Me. I'm simply a rapper named Jim Jones attempting to get into television. In addition, I didn't want to be the guy who publicly revealed his private problems. You know, I'm proud. I decided to ignore it, continue working hard, and take initiative. However, it wears you down, doesn't it? Chrissy inquired in a quieter tone. Hell yeah, Jim said. It's like a knife twisting every time I see the episode. Don't get me wrong, I'm delighted for the people who were given a platform. But I was also aware that it was my idea and that I may have contributed to something so significant. It's difficult to swallow. Chrissy folded her hands behind her head and leaned back. What will you do now then? You have a cause for unleashing this bomb, don't you? You're going to confront her. Perhaps there was a hint of wickedness in Jim's eyes as he grinned. I haven't made up my mind yet. A part of me wants to share everything, texts, emails, anything. Tell the truth to the world. However, a part of me simply wants to move on and start something new. I have some thoughts, Chrissy. Greater than hip-hop, love, television, films, you name it. I haven't finished yet. Chrissy smiled. I know the Jim there. It's constantly planning and fantasizing. However, you know I've got your back if you choose to go to Mona. We are able to create some sound. Jim laughed. Away our brilliance again. Sound of their glasses clinking pierced through the room's haze. The genuine passion of a guy who had been harmed, yet was unbroken, was captured by the recorder's constant blinking. Jim Jones had a tale to share. One thing was certain, regardless of whether he chose to shout it from the rooftops or use it as fuel for his next major move. He continued to struggle for his spot in the game. They continued to discuss the industry, loyalty, and hustling as the evening went on. With each syllable, Jim's voice became more steady, as if he were recovering something he had misplaced. Although the betrayal still hurt, it was now fuel rather than a burden. Jim Jones was already planning his comeback. In that smoky room, with his first day by his side,